but the soul was made by God, so the soul will go up again to the God, this is another journey for our souls, not just being here. I think basically life, like from my own aspect, is just what you believe in. If you believe you want to be happy, you'll be happy. If you believe you want to be sad, you'll be sad. So this is how I see life. And me being here in the States, like in our country, I came actually from Saudi Arabia, so our country is very closed-mind country, and we're raised in the way that we just see Islam and nothing else beside Islam, which was really wrong. So when I came here in the States, I learned about other religions, and I saw a lot of similarities, actually. I think not everybody really can realize it, but when you hear it, you can see, like, we believe in Jesus, Moses, and everybody else. So they're all mentioned in our holy book, too. So I believe we all believe in the same God, and we came all from the same God. It's just like people focused in the differences more than the similarities between us as a religions, which make all of this mess around the world, I think. So anyways, also from my journey here in the States, I learned that I cannot judge people. Like, if you were a Christian and you did something wrong to me, I cannot judge all Christian people for that person. He's not representing the religion, he's just representing themselves and themselves only. And I don't think a lot of people could understand that. And even like, there's some American people, they look at Islam in the bad way too, like when they see like a Muslim, they're tourist or something like that. So it's really wrong to judge people, because if we look around, all the religions, they have good people and bad people, and we cannot judge the bad people and make them the role model for the whole religion, which is really wrong. So also for being a Muslim woman, I'm really proud of this. And I think Islam is really protecting the women's rights, actually. But the way that was really represented in my country, like as I told you, like my country is really closed-minded, and when it's come to religion. And I think that will make people think about other religion the bad ways, because they didn't really experience or hear the other side of the story. It's really obvious. Anyways, so I think being here as a Muslim, I really like my religion. It's to protect me, especially with me wearing the hijab. And the idea of hijab is just to protect myself from other people, so that the stranger men cannot look at me in any other ways. And I like doing that here. So also I have my own rights as a Muslim woman. Like, when I get married, my husband should to pay for me, and he's supposed to, like, I could be putting my own rules. Like, I can ask him to give me my own house, or like give me a certain kind of money or whatever I want. And if he agreed to these rules, we become wife and husband. So this is how the rules are. So this is really cool, I think. It's much better than just having a ring, So I think this is very much what I have to say today. But I just want people to understand that me wearing a scarf, I think more like the Christian people will more understand it, because the nuns, they wear it to protect themselves, So this is the main idea of the hijab thing. And always people keep asking me, like, we met a lot of Muslim girls who doesn't wear it, so is it religion or is it a cultural? Well, it is religion. It's mentioned in the Holy Book. Like, we have to do this. Like, I have to start wearing it since like 9 years old. But like, some people don't really follow the leads, like they just like think about it in a different way. Like, okay, I'm gonna take it off, I'm gonna wear it on. So they think about it in a different way. It's just like, I don't know, like drinking alcohol is prohibited in our religion, but there is some people around the world who, like, they're Muslim and they drink too. So I think like not everybody just following the actual rules, but this is how things is going on, I think, in all the religions. It's not just about Islam. So people usually take what they want and they leave the rest of the thing. So I'm not really a restrict Muslim, so I don't really follow a lot of rules. Like in our religion, we're supposed not to listen to songs, like music and songs. I love listening to songs. Actually, they make my mood so good. So I think I'm guilty, but anyways, I do believe that all religions are true. This is my own beliefs. Because Islam, when it first came to the earth, didn't really force people to get into Islam, like you have to or I'm gonna kill you. But the follower after him, they started to like make wars and like fighting with other countries and force people to get in Islam. So they got their own message actually from the Prophet. The Prophet didn't really actually force anybody to get into Islam. So that happened just after he died away and he like passed away, and people started to freak out and they needed more people to be in Islam. So they were like taking over countries and they were like forcing people, are you going to be Muslim or do we have to kick you out of the country? And starting from that point, some people start to take Islam just as a cover. And this is like the bad roots of the Islam. And the good roots of the Islam is for the people who actually voluntarily choose to be Muslim. So basically in my country, if you thought about it, people actually is forced to be Muslim. And I know that like I have cousins who they came here to the States and they became Christian. And after they became Christian, so people there, they were looking at them, if you came back, we're gonna kill you. You know, like this is how things going on in my country. But they actually settled down here, so this is good for them. And this is very much what I have to say, and thank you so much for inviting me here today. I was really happy to talk to you guys. Thank you.
Yes, I'm here with Wajdan just to be with her because I had the fortune of living in the Gulf region for several years. And throughout my career, I've lived in many different cultures, and this was probably the one I knew the least about. And so as an American and as a single woman going to an Islamic country, I had a wonderful experience, and it is very close to my heart. And all of my work and all of my social life was with the local people rather than with the expats, we called them, which I was one, but if I wanted to be with expats, I'd be in the U.S. And my goal was to be with the local people. And they were all Muslim, and like I said, even my social life was with them. I was able to experience and share all the different things, and there was a few things I noticed. One was that religion was not something they did on Sunday or any other day. It was a way of life and living. That's who they were, was their religion. And one part that became a part of me spiritually was that they have their call to prayer 5 times a day. And you hear the call to prayer, and at that time everything stops and they have their prayer. And I thought, what would happen globally if 5 times a day we all just stopped and were thankful for our families or for whatever we had? I thought, that might help us all be a little more peaceful. And so I do miss the call to prayer, but I remember the thankfulness to do that throughout the day. And so it has impacted me in that way. But learning different cultures and going to visit, and always know that when you do that, you're going as a guest, and to really accept and be there to learn. It was a very spiritual and fortunate experience for me to be able to live with that particular group of people. And I will say that of all the cultures I've lived in, and I've appreciated every one of them, but this was one of the more gentle, respectful, considerate, and playful cultures I lived in. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Father Russell. I'm a priest in the Orthodox Christian Church in Butte, Montana. The Orthodox Christian Church, it's one of the two largest Christian denominations on the face of the earth. If you've heard of Greek Orthodox or Russian Orthodox or Ethiopian Orthodox or Armenian Orthodox Christians, these are all the same religion. They simply have a geographic location and language they speak but they have the same belief in religion. And it's a religion that believes in God. So we believe there is a God. That's our foundational statement. There is a God. And that God is not me. So you're not going to hear my opinion or what I think. We would think a person's opinion is worthless. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what the church has always kept. And that's kind of the slogan for the Orthodox Church, keeping what's been kept. In fact, so you know that I'm not God. The next big revelation I have to give you is you're not God. That's tough for North Americans to figure out. We're trained to be self-centered here. We're trained to think that what I think is important. Schools teach us that. We're indoctrinated from the time we're young children. That what I think and what I believe is the center of the world. In other words, in the West they say, I think, therefore I am. And that's just a joke for everyone in the East. The saying in the East is, I think, therefore I may be self-deceived. So, selflessness, as opposed to selfishness, to be selfless, to let the ego be diminished, that I may become less, is not really on the North American agenda. No one gets a promotion for being selfless and meek and humble. Everyone who gets promoted and gets the raise is in the spotlight and saying how great they are, look what I've done. I have a great mind, look how great I am to think. When in reality, if you're considering your own greatness, which all of us have to do at some point, go zoom to the very end. We are simply going to die, perish, and pass away. And as one professor told me, that if you think your greatness is that great, go live out in the desert and die, and see if you are remembered or had any impact on the world at all. But when you die, call me, and I'll bear you $150. Thank you very much. In other words, our own self-facade, he just deflates. And so, if we believe there's a God, and it's not us, then to make me happy is not the meaning of life. My own personal satiation and happiness is not the meaning of life. In fact, I'm actually called to live for the sake of the other, not for myself, not for selfishness. That I might live for the sake of the other. Wow. That a man lives for the sake of his wife. That a husband and a wife live for the sake of their children. That they would give their lives for the sake of the other. In other words, if religion was just about, and life was about finding myself, in the end I would be stuck with myself. Worthless journey. We believe our God is a God, and He's a big God, and mankind is small. And our goal is to be joined to that God in union with Him for all eternity and now. And now. To be joined to God now and into all eternity in and after life. That this is not life. Scripturally, what we are doing here on earth is called death. And that we pass from death to life. In other words, this time on earth and the meaning of it is like a 90-year womb experience. You know how a baby has 9 months in the womb. And then it has to go on to the next life. What if that baby said, I like it in the womb, I want to stay here. That would sound ridiculous, huh? What if the baby said in the womb, the meaning of life is placenta and amniotic fluid? We would all laugh. What a joke. Don't you know it's only temporary time there? Don't you know there's more? That you are created to be more than just that. And once you pass on, you never regret not having placenta. Once we pass from this life to the next, all the cares of these earthly things disappear as insignificant compared to eternity. Union with God persists into all eternity. We are all given eternal life. All of us, by the way, regardless of our beliefs or anything. We all get eternal life. Pretty nice. The question of how that eternal life is if we are in union with God or not. So our religion doesn't tote we get heaven. Something we get, like a nice couch, nice video game. We want to be in union with a person. Our God is not a text, is not a book. He is a person named Jesus Christ, who we want to be in union with in all eternity. How do I explain union? And I'll wrap that up because I'll make it short so others have more time to speak. And this is kind of a colloquialism that's not quite accurate, but close enough. If you think of two old fishing buddies who like to go fishing together all the time. And, at some point, it doesn't matter if the fish are biting or not. They get in the boat and they enjoy each other's company, spending time together. Those two men are united. They enjoy being in the presence of each other. In all eternity, we want to enjoy being in the presence of God, our Creator. And so, to nurture a life that makes that relationship available. In other words, we have a God who's not a legalistic God. Our Messiah, Jesus Christ, came and threw out all the legalism. So in the Orthodox Christian Church, we don't have a legalistic model. So there's no guilt. There's no penalties. And so there's no fear. The model for the Orthodox Christian Church is a medicinal, medical model. We have a good God who loves mankind, not one who's waiting with a strap, waiting to beat us if we make a mistake. So it makes it very nice for me. It relieves me from perfectionism as an Orthodox Christian. And since there's no guilt and no fear and no penalty, there's no penance in the Orthodox Christian Church, I'm freed from that fear and wincing that I can actually grow without fear of being smacked if I transgress some rule. There are no rules in the Orthodox Church. I often say that. Only prescriptions. Prescriptions. There's no legalism. It's a medical model. Prescriptive. That it might be unto our health. In union with God eternally. Not some generic health that perishes when we die, as if there was no God. But a health that lasts into all eternity. If there's no eternity, and if there's no God, I would recommend we all simply stop eating. And that might sound funny to you all, but eating simply prolongs the inevitable if there's no God and no eternity. Right? It means you're going to die, and eating just prolongs that. Well, maybe you should eat, but go ahead and start on slow suicide. Start smoking or doing drugs or doing all those things that are unhealthy for you and go on a slow death if there's no eternity and no God. But we believe there is a God and there is eternity. And the reason we eat is that we can nurture a life that draws near to our fishing partner, God, in all eternity, so to speak, and so that I can be here and tell you about the party He has planned for us. So I eat so I have more time on earth to invite more people to the party. That's a very generic colloquialism, but I hope gives you a little impression of how it works. But in essence, the meaning of life is union with God now and in all eternity. And our God's name is Jesus Christ. It's not me, and it's not you. Sorry to give you the big deflate. The Orthodox Christian Church and what it believes doesn't play very well in the Western world. It's not something that you're going to salivate over and say, oh, that sounds great for me. Yeah, I'm going to get everything I want. I'm going to feel happy. No, we would say joy and peace are more important than happiness. Self-satiation on this earth just fades away. What are you doing? You're going to eat and get hungry again. Doesn't satisfy. You're going to eat and you're going to die in the end. Doesn't cure that. I had one good professor tell me, everyone who ate carrots are toxic, because everyone who ate carrots died. He was joking. But I think you get the point. What are you doing on life? What are you doing with this life if it doesn't have more than just to bring you to an end and die? So that's the Orthodox Christian faith, that we might be joined to God now by participation in His church and all the prescriptions He's given us. Church is a hospital, not a court of law. A place where we can be made well and be joined with God. Thank you.
I'm Deacon Daniel. I serve under Father Russell at Holy Trinity in Butte. And since he did such a good job of telling you what Orthodox Christianity is, I'll just talk a little bit about my own experience. A few years ago, before I was wearing this, or before I was an Orthodox Christian, I was studying philosophy in college. And philosophy is supposed to be basically human beings trying to answer what we would call life questions. Someone said the biggest question in philosophy is why does anything exist at all? I mean, the whole point of philosophy is to try to come to understand why we're here, why is there a world at all, why are human beings here, what's our purpose? And in orientation, our professor sat down with us and said, there are two kinds of people in the world. There are philosophers and there are bullshitters. And unfortunately, it didn't take me very long to realize that most philosophy is bullshit. Basically, if human beings using their mind to answer our life questions, if that's a true experience, then you would kind of think over time, over history, we're getting a little smarter, we're kind of figuring it out more and more. But if that's the case, why was the 20th century, hopefully not the 21st century, why was it the most bloody century in humanity? Why have we ended up in this place if we're kind of evolving into more intelligent beings? Why has philosophy led us to this place? And it led me to a crisis, basically, of a faith journey of who do I trust, who can I believe about what is significant and why I'm here? So basically, I started walking into the doors of different religious institutions, and one day I ended up in an Orthodox church. And the moment I stepped in the door, my life was changed. I had an experience I had never had before in my life, and that was basically the presence of God. In the iconography, my eyes were transformed, given a vision of a beautiful life and incense. I smelled a beauty I'd never smelled before in the liturgy, in the hymns of the church. I was just spoken to. I felt the presence of God. And I think that really is the core of Orthodox Christianity, the incarnation, that God became man, that we're not abandoned to this plight of confusion and a mess, but that God actually, after we kind of lost our way, that He becomes man, that He humbles Himself and becomes just like one of us. And in communion with Him, as Father Russell said earlier, we experience life. We begin to experience life now as it was intended to be. Humanity is beginning to be healed even now. And, this is a short life, but we do experience even that now, life as it was meant to be. Orthodox Christianity isn't a religion. it was initially called the Way because it was a life that was a true life, a life lived in actual physical, spiritual experience of Christ. We don't think, therefore we are. We love, therefore we are. And that we can do because of our relationship with Christ and through Him to other human beings. So, thank you.
Hello, my name is Bill Janis, and I guess I'm representing the Roman Catholic perspective, and I'm going to just first say I'm a little uncomfortable discussing this because I consider faith kind of be a personal thing, and so it's difficult for me to discuss it, but I teach here at Western, and I'm currently teaching a class, European Intellectual History class. It's my favorite class that I teach. And we're discussing basically 3 issues are central to Western philosophical thought: reason, faith, and morality. And kind of a quick thumbnail sketch of the course over the block. The Greeks attempted to attain truths through reason, and they believed that via reason one could have a more moral society, and that seemed to be working, but with the fall of Rome, and the reason seemed to have failed, and reason seemed not to have achieved morality on earth. And you see an intellectual, spiritual movement, intellectual movement in Europe towards spirituality, religion, faith, as the answer to achieve morality on earth, have a more moral and just society. But the Enlightenment in many ways is being a central event in European intellectual thought. You see thinkers come to the conclusion that, well, religion and faith had its kick at the can, so to speak, in achieving morality on earth, and have failed. And they proposed to, once more, achieve, have a program towards progress of the human mind and reason, and to have a more moral society. Improve upon the failure of Christianity and faith. Fanaticism, religious wars, etc., keep plaguing Europe and Westerners. There was a tremendous amount of faith put into the Enlightenment and reason, but already even prior to the First World War, you begin to have people question the entire program and the entire notion that reason could achieve a more moral society. And as the deacon alluded to earlier, you have the First World War, the Second World War, the Holocaust, and subsequently you've had a questioning of the Enlightenment project. And that's, in some ways, that historical outline I've crafted there for you. Something that I guess personally have struggled with, especially since I went to college and went to graduate school. I was born Roman Catholic. I can't say I would be lying if I said I was a good Roman Catholic growing up. I was more drawn to reason, and definitely when I went to college and graduate school. I saw faith as a superstition, and nothing more than that. And it didn't seem to explain the meaning of life to me. I relied a little bit more on empirical thinking and reason and rationalism, and seemed to me as a more explain the world around me more efficiently and effectively. And I saw it as a better means of having a moral society too. But I think I drifted. That drift not only was an intellectual drift towards reason, but it was also a drift away from my roots of who I was. My parents were from Europe. My mom lived through the Holocaust in Poland. And I had a professor in graduate school who I took intellectual history classes with, philosophy courses in essence. He was a German Jew who survived the Holocaust, escaped the Holocaust, left Europe before World War II. He and his parents. He was a young boy. My favorite professor, one of two, my favorite professors, the gentlest soul in the world I've ever known in many, many ways. But I came to realize that, my father passed away in the 90s, and also with my mom, just recently passed away, that, reason is hollow in many ways. There's an emptiness there. There's an absurdity in life. It has no meaning to it. Human beings are, in many ways, dehumanized. We're objects. We're nothing more than objects that, like in geology, mountain ranges, and plates that are moving around that, come and go, and your planet can explode at any moment, being hit by a meteor or asteroid or what have you. And anything and everything I do here on Earth in the end has no meaning of any kind. You've forgotten, either today or tomorrow, or hours and hundreds of years from now. And I'm really sorry for taking a little too long here, but faith transcends, is a way of giving a little bit more meaning, comfort. So it's selfish. It's a little selfish. My life has a little bit more meaning to it. I have to have faith in order to have, that meaning. But there's this constant struggle that exists between reason and faith, and the faith is having a little bit stronger pull, because it gives some meaning to me, and it transcends time and reality, earth, worldly life, and always I feel like I get connected to my ancestors, my family, the whole spiritual world. And, maybe it's a bit, hopefully, we can prevent something like a Holocaust again from occurring. So, thanks.